Hello, welcome to the weekly brew here at Redefining Success with Emma and Iona. Welcome, Iona.
Welcome, Emma. So we're on a journey to explore a soul-led business and to go on that journey and share what we are discovering with you as we go along the way.
We are, and this week we've had an interesting time brewing. And following our brew from last week, we've really come up against our fears of failing and being successful, both of those kind of two sides of the same coin in a way.
It was really interesting because we shared our fears, and Emma's was exactly the same as mine. But what's really beautiful about fear is that it means that we're at a threshold. It means that we're about to have a breakthrough into a new experience that we haven't had before.
Yeah.
Because the fact that fear is showing up means that it's an unknown territory, that we're having to look at what that fear is.
Mm.
And, for me, it's been a fear of failure. We're about to share our gifts with the world and to invite being seen. And that brings the fear, are we going to make it? Are we going to be successful? And for me, the pattern up until this point is I've done so many things that haven't been successful and that have failed. And is it going to be another one of those? But I know that it isn't, because the whole energy is different. The whole constellation that we're in, doing it together, feeling the abundant energy, feeling the joy and the excitement of our journey. I know that it's not the same as anything I've experienced before. And therefore, I know it's just a fear. And I no longer have to believe that fear, but it's important to pause and listen to it.
Yeah, it definitely is. So for me, the big fear that I've come up against is, um, are we going to achieve what we've set out to achieve? And similar to Iona, I've come up against old patterns and an old big brick wall. Well, it's sort of not really even brick, like a big metal wall where I would turn around and maybe walk away from. And it's hard. It's hard because even sharing this, it feels like an exposure, exposing myself around what's my deepest fear, not being successful, fear of failing, both of those simultaneously. And then what do I do when I'm faced with that? Oh, well, I would just turn around and give up on that and move on to something else. And so mostly then things aren't seen through. There might be one or two things that have, but so that, but like Iona said, the energy is very different with this. We're both feeling the energy of abundance and fertility and vibrancy and life force and financial abundance, material abundance, but we don't know it yet. We're on this particular threshold. We would say we were we're actually at the threshold and we've taken the step onto it, but we we've never navigated anything about financial abundance or material abundance before. We've never done that. In fact, in spiritual communities for a long time, it's been frowned upon. It's like you have to give your things away. This is all spiritual, and actually, we're saying no. We want to live a life where we have an abundance of money, an abundance of um, financial flow, so that we've got enough for ourselves and to give to others as we want or use as we wish, and that's okay. So that means we have to stand in our okayness about who we are, all of our fears, failures, and amazingness as well, and really be okay with that. And that is about taking a pause and a deep breath and saying, "That's kind of look at us, warts and all."
Yeah. So I know we've been through many transformational gateways. This is not the first threshold we've been through by a long shot.
No.
We've been through many different challenges that have come up for me in my life, and I'm sure for Emma as well, where, okay, this is what I need to move through to grow and to expand. The block that I'm facing is around my sexuality, or was around this, was around that. So there's different gateways or thresholds that you kind of come up against, and it's a block in your life, and it's not,
Yeah.
you need to move through it. And in order to do that, you have to face the fears around it. And usually those fears are there because they've kept you safe until that point. And it's acknowledging, thank you for keeping me safe. I now need to expand and grow, and therefore I'm ready to let those, it feels like training wheels, go, so that I can turn into an aeroplane and fly. So it's going into a new territory, and it always comes with fear because it's unknown. But it's needed to grow and to expand if you don't want to stay stuck. So we've gone through many of these thresholds, but this is the first time we're going through the threshold, the doorway, the portal into entrepreneurship, into knowing abundance. And we've said to life, we want to go through this threshold. It's what's coming up in our life. We're being asked to navigate it so that we can grow into more of who we are. And we're loving that we can do it together. So we don't have to do it alone. It's the first time I've gone through a threshold with someone else, and I'm so grateful for that. But it's such a big one, because becoming an entrepreneur, like, from these spiritual roots, we're not just talking about someone who wants to make money. We're not on that same journey. We want to know abundance, but we want to know it from a place that's true and authentic to who we are.
Yeah.
So that's the difference.
That's key.
That is the difference. Otherwise, it doesn't mean anything. Money would mean nothing to me unless it comes with, from my core, from the abundance at my core, that's connected to my creativity, that's connected to what I'm loving giving, because it's a flow back in, it's a flow in and out from a place of joy and beauty.
Yeah.
So that's the journey we're on. And fears are coming up
Massively.
because it's the first time we're doing this.
Yeah. And so this is what happens when we face parts of ourselves that are uncomfortable, challenging, difficult. Some people might say that's a shadow part. Some people might say it's a part that's been in the unconscious realms of ourselves. So it doesn't really matter how we describe it. They come up when, like we're going through now, when you're wanting something new, you're taking steps towards it, to changing who you are. You might be rewiring neurologically what's going on. Everything, it feels like everything's suddenly in your face, and your nervous system's like, ah, and it wants to go back to its comfort zone. And that's exactly what's happening for us. That part wants to know it's safe, it wants to know it's secure, it wants to know it can survive. And yeah, so we're both in this situation where we recognize these bits that have come up. And for me, it's that person carrying down behind the wall, going, this is too much, I can't cope with it, I can't get over this wall, I can't go around it or through it. Remember that book, if you ever had kids and you read that book about the swishy grass and the river? I can't go over it, can't go under it, I've got to go through it. It feels like I can't do that. So what's the way to navigate this? And I always find, when I'm coming up against these old patterns or this comfort zone survival instinct, I get things are grinding, they're misaligning, they're mismatching. And it's because that survival instinct wants to curl up and stay behind the wall. But the new energy is here, and I can feel the abundance of life. I can feel that flow, the financial yumminess of it all, from our soul, from our heart. So, big, fat, juicy wall, you're not going to knock me down this time.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like, it's not the first time you've been at the wall. You know the wall, but it's the first time we're saying, okay, it's frustrating constantly choosing the wall.
Yeah.
Because we want to know abundance,
Yes.
but the wall is safe. The wall is what we know. The wall is home. And we always kind of default back to the wall, but it's frustrating. So we have come together, extra forces, to say, let's do this together, And for me, so for Emma, it looks like the wall, this comfort place that keeps her safe. For me, it's a mask. So I wear the mask of the teacher or the wise one, the one who kind of explains things. So if I have to throw that away, and then I'm just left with having to be real, having to be, yeah, I'm facing a fear right now and it's really scary. And let's be real. Let's talk about what's actually coming up. And
Yeah.
when I put that mask away, then I'm in the unknown. I don't know what I'm going to talk about. I don't know what's next. And I'm having to really trust life to show us the way, which is how
Mm.
we've started this journey and how we're continuing to navigate it.
I mean, if you could talk to the mask now, if I could talk to the wall, if this was the wall, I'd just say, oomph, get out of the way.
Mm, mm,
I don't really, I don't need you. Thank you for what you've done, but it's time for something new now.
mm,
And actually, it's more of an illusion then. What is fear other than a big illusion, really?
mm, mm. Yeah, and I think for me, at my deepest core, I just long to be myself. I long to be, and I often am just that childlike essence that's
Yeah,
on an adventure with life and marveling at the beauty of life and the synchronicities of life and just the magic of life and the creativity. That is me in the flow with life.
mm,
And I've gone on a massive transformational journey many gateways to get to that level of freedom, which I do enjoy. But then there's also more, isn't there? And more is, I want to have money in my bank. I want to be doing work that I absolutely love, and creating the structures that support my creations out into the world, that I can give in a way that is sustainable and that nourishes me, and that I don't need to be in a soul sucking 9 to 5 job in
mm.
order to survive, that I can survive from my own creative core, that we can go travel and go to
Yeah,
beautiful lands and have beautiful experiences and to be inspired by those, and for that to infuse our creations, which inspire us to give back more and more and more. So that's the place I want to be living from. And that's why the mask needs to go, because I can't fully show up in that full abundance, in that full, joyful, childlike innocence when I'm still protected behind a mask that is
mm.
limiting my expression.
Yeah. And I can't show up while I'm sitting behind a wall, going, I can't get over this wall. And yes, it's a comfortable place to a degree, but it's a comfortable place in the short term. Long term, it's damaging. I
Mm.
think that because for me, certainly, it it then stops me from being my full expression and stops me from being who I am,
Yeah.
and keeps me small, keeps me contained, keeps me unable to do the things I want to do. And I think when you're talking about being able to live from that place of also having the financial freedom as well as the spiritual and emotional freedom, um, there's a lot of stuff that talks about removing blocks, and I think that energy feels really heavy for me as well. I'm feeling like there's a new way, there's another way of doing it. Like we were talking about resourcing, how do you resource yourself? I don't think everything has to be a hard slog.
Mm.
Like there's always these kind of things that just go, oh God, I've got to work again more at myself, and I've got to do
Mm.
this now, and I've got to do that, and that's just like putting blocks up in front
Mm.
of myself as well. I feel like there's a way of navigating this with resources that can be enabling rather
Mm.
than thinking, oh, now I've got to remove that, and now I've got to do this, and now I've got that pattern to break.
Yeah.
Yes, we do come up against patterns, but how can we nourish and resource ourselves while we're
Mm.
doing that?
So making it joyful.
Yeah, even though it is difficult, but it
Mm.
can be done in a joyful way.
Mm. We
Yeah,
were reflecting on how even this idea that I've got to shine, I've got to bring my fullness, it felt pressurizing
yeah,
because, both of us when we were younger were, I know I was kind of valued for being wise and being clever and doing well at
yeah,
school. and I think Emma was as well. So that whole pressure, like, oh, I have to do well so I can be recognized, so that I can know that I'm worthy of love, creates pressure. So for us
Yeah.
to come out into the business world and say, we must shine, we must be these great, must bring on the fullness of ourselves, it was actually creating a pressure on us, which felt horrible and
Yeah.
debilitating. And it was only when we did our journey together today, which we do to get clarity with our own process together, that we realized that we don't need to put on ourselves this pressure to shine and to show up and be big. Actually, what we need is more a coming back to ourselves, a self acceptance of where we are
Yeah.
and who we are, and allowing us to show up with you and be real about our journey. And
Yeah.
we noticed that in our video last week, in our brew last week, Emma started with saying that she notices there's a lot of obstacles that come up, and she doesn't have to confront them in the same way. She can simply go around them and notice what she wants to be giving her energy to and what she doesn't. But we didn't share like the actual details. Emma didn't share how she's experiencing it.
Mm.
What does that look like for her? What obstacles has she met and has she chosen to go around? So we realize that there's a part of us that has to get even more real in sharing our
Yeah.
actual experiences, in how we are navigating our journey into business, into conscious entrepreneurship, by being real, giving real examples of how we are actually living it and doing it and what's coming up for us.
Yeah. Because we, because basically when we watch people on social media platforms, we've realized that the people we connect with most deeply are the people that share their stories, are the people that have an emotional connection with the audience. And we knew this intellectually when we began, but somehow going through as far as we've gone through already with our business, this is coming up even stronger now, and it's more of an embodied experience of it. And so that's what we're aiming to bring, which is why we're coming up against
Yeah,
all our fears.
we are, because I think that there's a vagueness that people hide behind, which is,
Yes.
you know,
Yeah.
unlock your potential,
Yeah.
and you know, come and do my course.
Yeah.
But there's so many people saying things like that.
Yeah.
But
Loads.
how do you know you can trust someone? It's, you know,
Yeah.
you get attracted to people who actually doing it or have done it and
Yeah.
saying, this is how I did this today, this is how I had that breakthrough. You know, it's very specific, and that builds trust because it's people who are actually doing it. So Emma and I, we are actually doing it, we are actually on the journey. We are not saying that we have tons of money.
No.
You know, we don't. We're
But
far from it.
that's where we're heading.
We are absolutely heading there, let's be clear.
Yeah.
And you know, because why not? Because from
Yeah.
that place, you know, you can do whatever you want, you can make the world more beautiful, you
Yeah.
can help people, so why not? So what are we saying, Emma?
We're saying that we are committing to ourselves, to each other, and to you, that no matter what comes up, which is really difficult for us because we've been, like Yona said, we've been on so many thresholds, through so many thresholds and life journeys, but we've never done the financial abundance one. So, number one, we've never done it for ourselves, and we've certainly never done it as a co creation. So, this is what we're doing, and we're doing it live because we're sharing our journey with you. We don't know how it's going to unfold. We don't know where our abundant money is going to come as it rains from the skies and fills us up. And then we become these gorgeous cups that can flow out into the world and share our money, because that's what we both really want to do, as well as travel and other things. And what we're saying is that we are committing to ourselves, to each other, and to the world, to the universe, to you, that when things come up that are hard, as well as the good stuff, we're sharing it all. So we are coming with authenticity. And the moment that we see we are hiding behind something, we're showing up for each other to flag it.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, we feel that, and then we're hoping that through that, some of you will have followed our journey, and that we will have tools to share with you. We've got tools, we have got tools which we're sharing
from
already
other
from other
thresholds. Yeah.
thresholds, yeah. And this is a living, breathing, life force version because we're doing it as it happens. We're sharing it as it happens.
And this particular one that we in is around abundance, conscious entrepreneurship. How do we unlock the core of our abundance through opening to our joy, opening to the unknown, and allowing life to take us there?
Yeah. So for us, we're saying there has to be a different way to be abundant, and we're talking about abundance in every sense. So, like I only said, we've already explored that in many areas of life. This is the abundant financial area we're exploring, the entrepreneur abundance we're exploring. We're right at the beginning of that threshold. We don't know where it's going, but we're committed to it, and we're gonna meet the journey as the journey meets us. We're gonna meet life with it as it meets us. We're going to take deep breaths into those fears, and we're going to meet them with gratitude and with compassion. And we're going to say, yes, I might feel safer doing that, but this time I'm choosing something different. So how do I resource myself doing that? And how do I find a different way? Because we both believe there's a different way. There is a different way.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
And what I feel like, it's like I've often experienced like breaking through a volcano, this energy that's inside me. It wants to like break through. And what it is for me, it's like the hypocrisy of societal masks almost, that it's like all the false masks that everybody wears to fit in.
Yeah.
And there's just a rebellion in me, you know, around that. So it's like wanting to break through the false masks, wanting to show up authentically. What is it to be fully ourselves in a simple way where we can just be ourselves, find our own creative core, offer gifts from that place, and there's a trust reestablished, a trust and a realness around life and a process to really become abundant.
Yeah. That's really beautiful.
Yeah.
It's got to be possible because the universe is infinite, ever expanding and eternal, which means that there's ever expanding infinite possibilities for everything. And this old way hasn't served the world at all.
No.
So we're here for a new way.
It's like, how can we be fully ourselves, every single one of us? How can we be absolutely accepted and authentically ourselves and live in joy and abundance in this world?
And it might seem like a pipe dream. Remember John Lennon said something like that in that song Imagine, didn't he? You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. That is how I feel. And I've often been called a dreamer, and that, you know, my ideas are just, I live in a dream fantasy world. But if someone doesn't bloody dream it, how will it ever happen? And so we know there's a different way. We know it in our hearts. We feel the abundant energy. We want it for everyone. It has to be possible. And so we commit to taking steps to that. And it starts with us right here, right now, saying we're in fear at the moment, but simultaneously, we're also in joyful abundance.
Yeah. And we're on the threshold of breaking through.
Yeah, we are.
So it's exciting. And there's been little damsel flies representing transformation, blue, like dragonfly creatures flying around all around
the whole time
us,
while we've been making this video,
which is hugely symbolic.
Yeah.
I mean, this beautiful, lush emergence of summer. So much support from nature. Just a reminder, if you are following our journey, if you can like and subscribe, we'd love to hear your comments.
Yes.
How are you doing on your own journey? What does this bring up for you?
Yeah, share with us. We really want to hear it.
Yeah, so that's all for us this week.
Yes.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching, and here's to redefining success.
So much love.
Bye for now.